Welcome to the Kingdom Culture Podcast that was created on purpose with a purpose to empower, uplift, and guide others to the center of God's perfect will. Kingdom Culture family, welcome back to the Kingdom Culture Podcast. I hope everybody's been having a great week. This week, I wanted to talk about accepting your reality. I'm in a season where I'm rediscovering who I am. I'm rediscovering the hobbies that I want to keep around, the habits I want to keep around, the people that I want to keep around, and the things that are going to bring me more fulfillment. And this was difficult because I realized that where I am right now is not where I want to be. The people that I have right now in my life are, most of them are like life-giving friendships, relationships. But there are some that are dying off, and I no longer want to put energy into, having to feed into them because I'm not getting as much responses or as good of an interaction that I would like. And that's okay. I'm coming into terms of the fact that I still have habits that are no longer serving me. I still have traumas from my past that are no longer serving me, and I'm just bottling them up in emotions. And this was difficult for me to journal through and become aware of, because nobody wants to be feeling like, ugh, I'm still here when I want to be here. But the number one thing that you have to do when you're trying to change is accept your reality. Accept the now. Accept where you are, so that you can start to move forward from it. So what is accepting your reality? That means acknowledging and coming to terms with the way things are rather than how we wish them to be. It involves recognizing the truth of your life or a situation, and that includes allowing yourself to accept the limitations and constraints and things that you've been dealing with effectively without denying it or avoiding it, right? So you can't avoid your truths, the facts of your life. For me, it was the fact that I had to realize that I was spending too much time on my phone. That's a reality. Maybe we think that scrolling on our phone isn't bad, but I have certain goals. I have a certain life that I want to live, and I'd rather go, and work on that to be able to be at the places that I'm seeing online than to just scroll through them. So that's a habit that I wanted to break. Another reality was, hey, you know what? I still have trauma from my father, and I'm pouring it out into my marriage. Right? So that was another hard reality check that I had to deal with, because that's an emotional change that I have to do, and trauma that I have to heal, so that my heart is fully, free, and I can be 100% myself without all of the baggage. Another thing I had to come into terms with is that my job is no longer fulfilling. I thought I was going to be in sales for the rest of my life. Well, guess what? It's not bringing me as much happiness and joy. I find myself stressed a lot of more times now. So I had to start moving into fulfillment and not a paycheck. All of these different things, different areas of your life, you have to be okay with accepting that it might not be what you want it to be. It might not be exactly, but you can change it. And that's the beauty of us as humans. I feel like we can adapt and change so quickly if we put our minds to it. So you have to accept the facts and truths of your life, regardless of how uncomfortable and challenging it may be. This means you confront both positive and negative aspects of your life. And then after you become aware of it, right, because that's the first step to anything, and you're going to hear me say that over and over and over again in this podcast, is you have to become aware. There's like a light bulb that flashes in you're like, oh, hey, you know what? I don't like this. And then you start moving towards the steps. The next step is emotional. The emotional acceptance of where you are. This involves allowing oneself to feel the emotions associated with the reality that we're in. I had no idea that I was unhappy with my job. I had no idea that I was hurting my husband by the way that I was acting, saying different things because of the trauma from my past. I had no idea that, some friendships weren't as good as I thought they were. relationships that I'm in that I've been pouring my energy and time into, and they're not growing. And so that comes with grief, anger, confusion, desperation. So I had to sit with all of these emotions and allow myself to feel them so that I could process them and move away from them and say, okay, cool, you know what? My marriage isn't the best right now, but there are things that we can do to make it better. The way that I speak, the way that I show up for him, the way that I show up as a woman and a wife and a mother. I can start to change those things, but I had to accept the fact that we were not in a good place. And with that comes a lot of grief and hurt and mixed emotions. But I refuse to stay in a state of confusion or whatever else. I need to process my emotions so that I can move forward from them and I can allow myself to change. It prevents the buildup of unresolved feelings that can hinder personal growth and well-being. I don't know about you, but every time I try to shove an emotion down, it just keeps resurfacing, and I keep refilling everything, and I'm just like, I don't want to be in this state anymore. I don't want to feel this anymore, because an emotion, that's what it is. It's not part of your character. It's not part of who you are. It's an emotion. It's a passive thing. So you have to process it so you can allow yourself to not feel like that anymore. So emotional acceptance is so, so important, and be sure to journal through it, talk through it, feel through it, and make sure that you are allowing yourself to feel it so that you can move forward. Accepting reality also means letting go of your control, because there's things that you can change, but also things that you cannot change. So you have to be okay with letting go of full control of everything. Did I know that I was being a mean person to my husband because of, the excuses that I was running through and saying no, I'm hurt. Men always hurt me in my life. I'm not gonna let that I'm not gonna let you do that to me. My father didn't show up for me, so I know you're not gonna show up for me. All of those things, I can't control, my first thought, but I can control my second thought. I can't control, what my husband says to me, but I can control how I react to it. I can control the situation if I allow myself to be smart enough and wise enough to not trigger my husband back and forth. Another thing is I can control how I show up for people, but I can't control how they show up for me. So that just means that I'm going to back up and allow them to have their space and let it be what it needs to be, and allow the Lord to move whoever and whatever in my life. There are things you cannot control. So you have to be okay with that and accept that some things are not going to be like you want them to be. And that's a hard part too, right? You have to adapt as well. So acceptance involves adapting to new circumstances and making necessary adjustments. It's about finding ways to live with the reality and making the best of the situation. For me, realizing that my job's not as fulfilling, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Now I have to, find something else and make sure that it pays my bills and my lifestyle, because I don't want to lose the lifestyle that I have. So I have to make the best of the situation right now. Can I get up and quit tomorrow? No. But I am going to start moving towards a different path so that I'm able to one day leave the job. And I'm not going to let another 5 years pass by. I'm just going to gradually work my way up so that I can leave that job and maybe find something else that's fulfilling. The moment that you start moving in a different direction, the moment that the Lord starts, shifting things and making sure that you're going the right direction. But you have to adapt to your new circumstances. You have to make a change. You have to move. You have to take action, because things aren't just going to change because you tell them to. You have to accept reality by also allowing your experiences to teach you. So that comes with personal growth and having a deeper understanding of yourself. That's why I say that I always sit with myself for 20-30 minutes every morning, and I journal to things. And this is why I was rediscovering myself, because I felt like I wasn't as fulfilled and happy. So moving forward, and everything else comes with growth, resilience, and allowing yourself to be who you need to be in this moment to change. So I wanted to give you guys some practical steps to accept your reality. The first one is always mindfulness and awareness. Practice mindfulness to become more aware of the present moment without judgment. This helps in seeing things clearly and accepting them as they are. Have self-compassion, right? Be kind and compassionate towards yourself as you navigate difficult realities. Understand that it's natural to struggle with acceptance, and give yourself grace during this process. Seek support. Talk to friends, family, or a therapist about your situations. Support from others can provide different perspectives, and emotional support makes acceptance easier. Having a group of people that you trust, having somebody that tells you like, hey, this is normal. We all go through these cycles of life, and you will be okay. Focusing on what can be controlled. So identify aspects of your situations that you can influence and take proactive steps towards changing in those areas. This shift in focus can reduce feelings of hopelessness and increase a sense of agency. So that means that I know that I can control little bits and parts of my life, right? Because that's what life is. We're just here, and things happen, and we choose A or B, and from that another consequence happens. And anyway, you have to realize that there are parts of you that you can control. I can control how I show up. I can control how I speak. I can control how I react to things. I can control how much I let something get to me. But I cannot control other people's actions. I cannot control other people's view of me. I cannot control, the financial situations that we're in, like with inflation and everything else. Why am I going to worry about it? I can't change it. It is what it is. I just have to be smart and be proactive on the way that I handle my money. You can't change everything, and you cannot control everything, but the things that you can control are very, very crucial for you to figure out and try to change them. Because that way you won't feel like you're just going through life. You're actually taking control of your life and making the right adjustments to be sure to grow and get you to who you need to be. And also, this comes with a lot of reflection. I always say that as soon as you realize that there's something that you no longer like, you have to reflect on what made you change, because looking back at your past allows you to see patterns so that you don't fall back into them. And you see where you've grown. You see where the path has taken you, and that gives you more motivation. At least it does to me. I'm just like, wow, I used to be here and now I'm here. Praise God. I used to do this and now I do this. That's awesome. And it gives you more motivation, and you keep inspiring yourself instead of having outside validation from people. So reflect, take time to congratulate yourself on the small wins and the small changes, and keep going. And as always, right, I want to leave you guys with a Bible verse. This week's verse is in Proverbs 19:21, and it says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." This verse reminds us that while we have many plans and aspirations, ultimately it is God's purpose that will prevail. It encourages us to accept the reality that we are in and realize that we are not in control of everything, and to trust in God's greater plan. Trusting in God's greater plan is difficult sometimes. Trusting that, He's got you, trusting that you're walking in the right way, trusting that everything is going to work out itself out, it can be difficult. But this is why we need to sit with ourselves and become aware of the things that we want to change and the things that we no longer like about this reality, this moment right here. I hope that this episode was of value of you, and you allow yourself to accept your reality and allow the Lord to lead your steps. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. The Lord wants you to be in joy and gratitude as you change and grow. because the Lord didn't bring you this far to keep you like this. He brought you this far so that you could see that you could get this far. But there's always more to go after. There's always more to rediscover. There's always more to change. Anyway, remember that I love you guys, but that the Lord loves you more always, always, always. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. I say that we are going to grow organically. There's not a lot of marketing going on right here other than word to mouth. So please, please, please share the podcast. I appreciate every single one of you. And I hope that you have an amazing, amazing day, an amazing week, and that you are blessed. See you guys next week.